Good evening and welcome to All For United WFC Twitter Live. It is 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening. Thank you for joining us, those of you who are joining us. This is the debut show of the, we call it amateur title, Ben and Matt Saturday Night Live, until someone comes up with something a little bit better. But, you know, we can't have Saturday Night Takeaway either, Gareth, before you mention that one. We're not Ant and Deck. Anyway, yeah. I'm going to introduce my co-host for these shows from now until whenever, Mr. Matt Crane. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good, pal. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Not bad at all. Right, buddy. Should we just dive straight into it? I just want to know, really, your background in the women's game. You know, because obviously before United brought back their women's side, after a bit of a hiatus, you've obviously been watching women's football a lot longer than I have, a lot longer than most of us have. Who was you following before United obviously brought back the team? And was it a particular team, or was it a particular player, or was it just watching games up and down country? How did you get involved in women's football, mate?
Well, very, very start, which was 2014-15. Obviously, I knew Toon. So at the time, she was at Blackburn, and she was just breaking through as like a young 16-year-old into Blackburn's first team. And at the time, Blackburn were third tier. So I kind of followed Tooney at the start, mainly just through knowing her. Travelled around, watched the games she played in for Blackburn. And then pretty much after that, I don't comment on this, but I'm going to have to because it's part of the journey. It was at the neighbours down the road where she moved to. Painful experience, absolutely dreadful. But no, I mean, and then, yeah, apart from that, with my old job, I used to work with somebody that also played at Man City, then went to Everton, and she's now at Birmingham. So I kind of went and sort of split my time because I didn't do the away games, you see, with Blackburn, or not the ones that were far. So if there was any London, I'd never sort of travel as such. So I used to sort of split my time between Everton, Blackburn and Man City, which is one of them. But at the time, for me, it was just football. You know, it was just something I could watch. And like you said, we didn't have a team. So it was pretty much just follow a couple of people that I knew from sort of the game around, and then sort of split that with obviously the Lionesses. And the Lionesses was, again, 14-15, the first time I got to a game. And
sorry, I couldn't help. But that's impossible, by the way.
Started off, like I say, 14-15 as well with the Lionesses. And obviously that summer in 2015 was the Canadian World Cup. So obviously back in the day, it used to be a summer league, the good old days. Absolutely loved that. It was great because obviously it was a bit like the sort of MLS, the men's. It used to run from about February, March time to November. So in terms of weather, as you can imagine, pretty good. You know, pubs were packed as well. And obviously the men's wasn't on. So it was great because throughout that summer, obviously I'm big on my tennis as well. You had men's football ended, women's football was starting, and the tennis, honestly, it was great, you know, just in the sun. So that kind of all got me into it. And then obviously come 2018, when we got our team, met you lot and never looked back. So yeah, it's been a good journey, you know, been here, there and everywhere, travelled here, travelled abroad, done tournaments. So yeah, that's kind of my background, really. It all started way back when.
Absolutely brilliant, that background, mate. Glad you didn't talk about the Stockport Blues, but there we go.
Less said the better.
Less said the better, yeah. So where was you, mate, when you first maybe started hearing rumours that United were going to bring in a women's side, or bring back a women's side, should we say? Was you hearing it on social media? Was you hearing it word by mouth? You know, maybe following these players up and down the country, like as you were watching them in the WSL, or whether he's watching Lionesses or whatever it may be, traveling up and down the country. Where was it where you first heard, or first maybe heard of a rumour that United were looking to bring back a women's side?
Yeah, so this is actually it's a weird story. It's kind of it's a little bit comical. I was at an Everton game, and Phil Neville had just got the England job, and it was I think it was Everton Liverpool. It was the derby, and he was sat right behind us in the boxes. Now their old ground, Everton's old ground, used to play back at Widnes, used to ground share with Liverpool, and the boxes are not as high as Lee, so they're pretty much like, it'd be like sitting on the row behind you. And he was there, Phil Neville, and he was very confused. The guy didn't have a clue. He was like pointing out the Welsh players, going to, "Oh, I'll get her in England," and I'm just like this. And then I overheard him talking. He was like, "Oh, well, when United get a team next year, there'll be some quality players I can pick." And and you sat there and you're not paying attention, and then all of a sudden you thought, "Oh, United." And then I think it was about 2 weeks later, it come out in the press, "Oh, yeah, United have reformed and they're advertising for a manager and all that." And it was just like, I don't know, like a little preview 2 weeks early. They heard a little whisper, and obviously kind of maybe spoke too loud and dropped a clanger to whoever he was talking to from the FA. And it kind of just came about. And then I remember, actually, it was funny, the day it was actually launched and we knew sort of the manager and the players, I was actually out. I was having a meal in the Trafford Centre. And I remember my phone pinging away because a couple of us used to go, like say, pre-United, a couple of my mates, and look at this, look at the team and all that. I just remember just shouting that, "Oh, look, they've got this player, they've got that player," and all proper excited, buzzing. Then it said, "Oh, Casey Stoney's manager." And I was like, wow, this is, because obviously I'd seen Casey play. And it was like, this is interesting because obviously no managerial experience. And she's kind of, she's come into an absolutely massive club. And then, like I say, I knew a fair portion of the players. Looking at those players, I'm thinking, wow, one, she's recruited very well in such a little time. And two, it's going to be massive pressure, not just because it's Man United, but because of all those sort of, quality players. I mean, you're talking so many who played WSL and had very successful careers up to date. So to kind of drop into the Championship, it took me by surprise, really. The likes of obviously Greenwood and Zellum and Chamberlain, you're talking top internationals, and it shocked me, but yeah, unbelievable. And then obviously, season got underway, and that was that. But I was actually lucky because I got in a couple of the behind closed doors pre-seasons that year. So we played Blackburn and we played Liverpool. So that was good to watch because it was sort of like a little taster beforehand. So got to see, like I say, a couple of pre-season games, just see the way we set up and play and sort of get familiar with players I didn't know, a couple of the younger ones. And yeah, kind of just went from there, really.
Yeah, was there any standout players to you that when we signed, you was like, wow, we mean business? You mentioned Greenwood and you mentioned Zellum, for example. Was it maybe the Greenwood dropping down the league and Zellum coming from Juventus? Was it those type of signs that went, wow, we mean business?
I think so, yeah. I think, I mean, I'd obviously, I was aware of those players. And obviously, like I say, talking big players. And I think at the time, there's a lot of, that season and the season before, there's a lot of unhappy players at Liverpool. I know even the season before we formed, there was a lot left, that previous summer. And there was kind of rumblings of fallings out. And, like you said, Zellum went over to Juventus and others had left over the past 2 seasons. And then there was a big sort of load that left as well. And I think, just seeing them. And I think, I'd seen as well Amy Palmer. She was a young 16-year-old at Bristol. I remember being impressed by her and thinking, wow, she's decent. She was literally playing WSL at 16 for Bristol, and she had something about her then. And I saw her name there and I thought, wow, okay, so we're kind of going for a mixture of youth and experience. And it was kind of one of them. Again, Jess Sigsworth I'd seen at Doncaster Bells in the WSL. She played, like I say, at a decent level. And again, it was just, it shocked me how many had jumped down a league just to join this project. I mean, Jess scored a hatful of goals for Doncaster in the Championship. She'd, done okay in the WSL, barring a serious injury that she got. So it was more the surprise of how many. I mean, you look, we had Chamberlain, we had Martha Harris, Amy Turner was another one. Very unlucky with injuries, but again, quality player. Molly Green I'd seen at Everton. Again, and Liverpool actually dropped down from the WSL. So, it was one of them, really. Like I said, it was very, very Millie Turner as well. Another one. She was captain at Bristol. Left Bristol, give up the captaincy again to come sort of back home. And it was just, I don't know how to describe it. It was a weird feeling because it's something you don't expect. You're thinking, new team, how much are they going to throw at it money-wise? And here we are pulling out these top quality names with bags of experience. And it's like you sort of your team and your local. So, yeah, it's very, very pleasing and very, very exciting. And from there on, I was just absolutely buzzing. I was like, oh, gotta get to these preseason games. Little did I know they'd be behind closed doors, but a couple of messages later and a couple of pulling a few strings, and it paid off for 2 of them. So 2 out of the 4, I can't complain too much. I think they were probably sick of me after that. But no, yeah, it was surreal.
Yeah, by the way, I thought I'd just mention anybody that wants to chuck in a comment, you have to actually click on the video, the Periscope video, and you comment away. We can put your comment on the screen. We can interact with your comments. So that's that one ticked off. First game then, I was at that. I was at the men's game away from home.
So you missed the Liverpool one.
I missed the Liverpool one at the Conti Cup, the first. The Conti Cup, Pioneer, the first, the 1-0 win.
Yeah.
Lizzie Arnott scoring that very, very, very famous goal, the very famous first goal. What was the overall atmosphere like that day? You know, I'm assuming United obviously bring with them a huge global attention.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's quite a few United fans there that day, but obviously with the men playing at the same time, it probably didn't get as big of exposure as it probably should have done. However, what was the experience like? What was the atmosphere like there that day?
Joe, it was funny because it was weird because obviously, as you know, in the women's, it's not specifically allocated seats, so everybody was mixed in, and we're actually behind the goal. I've noticed Liverpool games now they put them in the side, but we were actually behind the goal. Obviously, I think it was the far goal that Lizzie Arnott got the winner, so we had a decent view straight down the pitch. But it was weird because we're all mixed in, and obviously Liverpool over the years have never had. Never had many fans on the women's side. So to turn up, and obviously there was tons and tons of United fans all scattered about and filling up that end. And it was great because obviously it was funny because the first thing that struck me was their anthem came on and it got booed. It got absolutely echoed. And I remember turning to my mate and laughing and saying, "Oh, I love this!" Because it was just funny because it was unheard of. But I think there've been some men's fans maybe that didn't go to the men's game, and I don't know, and it was, you know what it's like, the rivalry, and people booed it, and I was laughing because the Liverpool fans were fuming. You're like, we don't do this in the women's game, and this is disrespectful, and nobody cared, and it was just the funniest. Oh, it was class. I mean, the atmosphere was good. I mean, don't get me wrong, people didn't really know what to sing other than the old United and stuff like that, and kind of copy what is brought over from the men's. But listen, it was great, and then obviously it was weird because obviously they were an established side and we were holding our own, more than holding our own. We had chances, and I think they had a couple of chances and Shiv kept us in it. And then, like I say, we just broke down that left-hand side and the ball went in and we're like, go on. And then all of a sudden, Lizzie Arnott just chucked herself back post, and the scenes, I can't even describe it. Everyone went mental. Even these little kids running down to the front like that's Chamberlain because she was in front of us because obviously we're attacking the far goal. And it was quality, honestly. It couldn't have gone any better. And then there's 5 minutes added on, and we're all like, oh, God, they're going to come back here. They're getting Chamberlain tip one onto the bar. I think might have hit the post or something, but it was quality. And then I remember afterwards, going chatting to some of the players and obviously Tooney as well. And it was just brilliant. They were buzzing. They were absolutely the ones that have come from Liverpool, serves them right for treating us badly and all this. And it was just something you never used to see. We've got it now, do you know what I mean? But you never ever used to see that sort of rivalry and intenseness. And honestly, it was quality, really good. And even chatting to like I say, players, to parents, everyone was just bouncing. It was just one of them where it was the dream start.
Yeah, it has to be mentioned though. I didn't mention, which I should have done, was that Liverpool were in a league above us then as well. There was a Women's Championship, so that was a cracking start, really, to beat a team that's a league above you, and not to mention our greatest rivals, really. Yeah. What a way to start. I was checking my phone, and I was like, oh, buzzing. We beat Liverpool. We beat the Scousers in the first game. I can't believe that. You know what I mean? Because you knew that there was... I didn't know a lot about women's football back then at the start, but I knew there was a league above us, So
yeah, I
wasn't expecting that, and I was buzzing. You can't beat a good 1-0 against Liverpool, can you?
I know.
And then we come on to our first game at LSV, Reading in the Conti Cup yet again, because we had two Conti Cup games before we started the league. This was in front of over 4,000 fans. It was like 4,835. I don't know if that's the correct figure, but someone I've written down. And unfortunately, we lost that day. But I remember being there. The experience was unbelievable, man. I went there with my son that day. You know, it was just me and my son. It was pre-Barmy Army days. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all I can remember is hearing Natalie. You know. Where I sat, you got over my right hand shoulder. There's Natalie and a couple of others that go to the men's games. I think pretty sure Frosty was there that day as well, Adam Frost, and you hear them singing away. And I just remember thinking, this is not half bad, you know. You know, for someone that's never watched women's football in my life, that was my first proper game watching it, and I thought this is not half bad. This, and prior to the game, I had like a little conversation with my mate. I should mention, called Mark Brumpton. He's a Tottenham fan, but somebody has to be, I suppose. But he's a bit of a footballing journalist now. But back in the day when he was doing this, like I don't know, I suppose you could call it apprenticeship. I don't know if that's what it's called. But he used to go watch a lot of Doncaster Bells. And he said, before we started playing football, he said to me, Ben, United got women's team. I said, yeah. I said to him, truthfully, mate, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo, man, about any of them. I'm just going to learn as we go along. And he said, well, you've got two players from Doncaster. You've got, obviously, Jess Sigsworth. But I know there's a player that you really, really like and you really, really take to, like, and there's a player called Kirsty Hansen. And he was telling me all about her. And then from that day, I thought, yeah, that's the player I'll just concentrate on. Obviously, I watched the game as a whole, but that's the player I'll concentrate on. And that's how, basically, a brief story of Ash became one of my favourite players. But, in fact, my favourite player, not one, it's the favourite, innit? Let's be fair. But what was your, like, I don't know whereabouts you were sat, though, for the Reading game, for our first home game at LSV. But what was your impressions of the atmosphere, the overall facilities at LSV, and the game itself?
Yeah, so obviously I was sat what would be now opposite the dugout. So obviously now we sit dugout side, don't we? And obviously it was that stand opposite that I was in, because typical United, season ticket hadn't turned up. So I was like waiting, and it got late. So they were like, oh, we'll just give you a paper ticket until it rocks up, and then we'll chuck you in that stand. So like, sweet. So again, there's a couple of my mates that was sort of, you know, I'd known and travelled about with pre-United. So I was in there, and obviously I've been to Lee before with it being local, you know, been to reserve games there and anything that they put on at Lee pretty much, even back in the day when Lee Genesis was still going. But yeah, no, and I think the first thing that shocked me about that game was the attendance. I think that was a record for women's football. That, you know, I mean, this was cup, but that would have been a record for a league game at the time. And I think close to 5,000. I was shocked with just the effort that kind of the club had gone to. I know there was things outside for the kids' entertainment. I know there was buses put on from, I think, Old Trafford or City Centre or both. And unbelievable. And I think the excitement for me was because obviously I'd come across Reading before. Reading were a top four side, and they were a very, very tricky side. And they'd always give the top teams, you know, a hell of a game. And they had some good players. And obviously it got on, didn't it? And the game wore on. We were doing okay. And for me, it always sticks out. We had chances. We literally created quite a lot against them. We just weren't clinical, but, you know, new team. And I think, you know, obviously they got one sent off, didn't they, in the second half? I think it was 2 yellows from memory. And we did lose. And I thought, you know what, 2-0, okay, we lost. And, you know, but this was a very established physical side. And I went away and I wasn't disappointed. I was excited. And that sounds weird, but I was excited to see more for how far this team could go. Because like I say, you could see glimpses, you know, I've seemed to recall hitting the post in the bar or 2 have won something. You think, you know, if we'd have taken those chances, anything could have happened. But I think, like I say, you know, second game in, bearing in mind, you know, they'd just been chucked together and they were getting to know each other, and obviously new manager as well that had never managed. I think for me to hold our own, like I say, although we lost, you know, I wasn't that disappointed. I was more proud than anything. So I think it was, yeah, just an enjoyable day. It was the start of the journey. You know, like I say, 4,800 and however many fans packed in. Lovely, sunny, warm day as well. couldn't ask for much more, really, could you?
Couldn't, mate. No, absolutely not. And moving on as well, like, because I don't want to spend too long on individual matches because others will be here until midnight.
Yeah, we'll be here till midnight.
As much as I love talking about individual matches, but we need to mention the first league game, which I wasn't there again because my son fell ill that day and I was meant to take him and I couldn't take him. But I watched it on the Aston Villa YouTube channel, which was which is mental itself. But that's that whopping that we gave Aston Villa in the first league game. What was your? Obviously, I believe you went, didn't you? Of course,
did, yeah. So again, another nice warm day. I drove down a couple of mates. I actually made the error because it was warm. I left my car windows fully down, lad, in the middle of Birmingham. And I got back, and I only realised after the game I got back, and I looked at my mate, and he looked at me, and we just laughed, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like first thing, what's missing? But anyway, back on topic. 12-0. I mean, we went down there, and obviously, like I said, we played well against Reading, but I didn't expect 12-0. It's one of them where I'd kind of, because Blackburn at the time were third tier, I didn't watch too much second tier, so I didn't really know. I mean, I knew some of the players that were, playing in other sides and about a couple of the teams, but I hadn't really specifically watched an absolute load of Championship football. So for me, it was very interesting just how clinical and ruthless. And I remember 60 minutes, we're 12-0 up. And then the final 30, we didn't score. And I remember after the game, again, went to see a couple of the players, have a chat with Tooney and that, and said to Casey, I said, wow, I said, I'm looking forward to season. She said, that was brilliant. And she looked at me, she went, no, it wasn't. So what do you mean it wasn't? We've won 12-0. And at the time, Nat was there and I didn't know who Nat was. And she was like, oh, and Casey went, no. She's like, last 30 minutes were poor. That was unacceptable. And I just remember stood there scratching my head thinking, unacceptable. I was like, yeah, but we've won 12-0. Forget the last 30 minutes. It don't matter. And it was brilliant. And then it was funny, speaking of the devil, right on cue. And it was funny because I was talking to Tooney after and she was like, wow, she's like, I love that because I was behind the goal and Nat was in the corner, the far corner. And I was under the little roof thing. And it was funny because Tooney after, she said, I love that. She's like, did you see that crazy pissed up lady in the corner? And this was Nat. And I was absolutely howling. She went, God, she's mad. We love it. It's like, because obviously, like I said, prior to United, there was not really much singing. There might have been a little bit of noise from sort of City and Arsenal and a couple from Doncaster with that bell, but there wasn't like the atmosphere. And I was just creased. Like, little did I know that a few months later, I'd be sitting or standing with this crazy lady from the corner. And honestly, but all the players thought she was drunk. I mean, Nat will probably tell she probably was. But it was just funny. All the players, they never commented on the game. They just commented on Nat in the corner. And it got funnier. And I remember telling Nat the story, and she was just laughing as well. And it was like that sticks out for me. I don't know why. The result is one thing, but just, being aware of who Nat was. Because I remember, Reading, like you said, heard a bit of noise. But Villa, to me, stuck out because it was like a smaller, compact ground. And it was just, it was hilarious. And like I say, little did I know we'd all be knocking about for that season and all be joining in. But honestly, we couldn't have got a better start with that win.
And then we move on to our first home game. I've got this down here because it was the first league game that I went to, the Sheffield United one. We won 3-0. Yeah. And Curtis Hampton scored that night. It was a bit of a dreary Mancunian night.
Wet and cold.
Well, yeah. All right. Some smart ass is going to say, well, Lee's in Wigan, Ben, but still, Mancunian rain. Always one.
I remember that actually because it was funny because the Reading game, obviously, I sat sort of towards the front, and then that game, because of the weather, said to mates, we're going near the back because all these lot of, decent atmosphere. I said, it sounds all right. And I don't think we got very back row. I think we're about 4 rows down, but obviously he was behind us. And again, just joining in with a couple of bits that we knew sort of chant-wise and that. And it was weird. I think it was Tottenham, which would have been probably November time. There's a few games, I think, in between that Sheffield one. We sort of slowly creeped towards the back. And I remember the Tottenham game afterwards, chatting to Nat, because I don't know, she was outside and I was getting a shirt signed anyway. And then she added me to the WhatsApp group. And then since then, just never looked back. It was just crazy. I like I say, from sort of Sheffield, only came to the back because it was, bad weather. And I dread to think, if it was nice, I wonder would I have made it? Would I have found you all? But
yeah,
I didn't, what a journey it's been. But yeah, that was sort of my sort of introduction to Barmy Army. And like I say, at the time, there was probably about 4 of you, maybe, not included, making a load of noise at the back. And then we was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is what we wanted. And like I said to you in previous shows on here, cheering goals and that and clapping, we'd get slated. Everyone was sat down, just like happy clapping. And we was like, yes, get in, try to start stuff. And nobody was for doing it. It was like people like, oh, shut up, be quiet. So it was good that we sort of found you lot, and kind of that atmosphere was brought over to, the women's game. So yeah, like I say, Spurs for me was the first time I actually got to that famous back row and met some of you and got involved in WhatsApp. And I think from there, then it just kind of grew, didn't it? Sort of from Tottenham, I think after that would have been Millwall at home, and sort of got to know more of you. But yeah, very, very interesting times. And like you say, Hansen with that goal against Sheffield as well. And I think I remember, did Lizzie Arnott get one as well from memory?
If my memory is correct as well, mate, I think so. But my memory is like a goldfish bowl sometimes. Absolutely useless. Just on the Barmy Army thing, for me, I think it was the Millwall game where I sort of met Nat, because, well, me and Nat go back a bit of time, even though we didn't know each other like personally, but we've always seen each other around the men's game.
Yeah.
And I think it was the Millwall game, I believe, was the one, because the Sheffield United one, I was sat with my son up towards the top, because obviously it was lashing down with rain. And so I sat up towards the top. But the Millwall one was the first time I didn't go with my son to a game. And I remember meeting our mutual friend Adam Frost, and he was like, come and stand with us, have a bit of a sing-song. So that's how I got involved with the Barmy Army. On the Barmy Army, I just wanted to ask you, what is it that sets them apart from like other supporters clubs, like like your Manchester Cities, your Chelsea supporters clubs? What is it that sets us apart? Like, is it the camaraderie that we all have with each other? Is it the singing? Is it the banter that we have between each other? Or is it whatever? What is it that separates us from them? What is, because people could say, oh yeah, but we do that at City or we do that at Chelsea.
Yeah,
but I feel that we are the pinnacle. We're at the top, and I don't think that they can match us. What is it from your experience? Because you've been in and around City a little bit, and you've been in and around other teams before United came about again.
Yeah.
What is the main biggest difference between them, if you can choose or pick a couple?
Yeah, I think for me, and without trying to obviously like slate or slag other sort of support groups up, I think for me that the first thing I noticed was it was, one, very welcoming, and two, it was like a family. I think, when I look back at, so obviously Everton, like I say, Everton wasn't a big fan base, so I wasn't aware then of the supporters club. Not that I'd want to join or anything, but do you know what I mean? Just some hardcore fans to sit with. So I was just happy rocking up. Blackburn was brilliant, because Blackburn, again, was very similar to what we've got. There was no official supporters group. It was more players, family and friends. So got to know, some great people through that. And it was, it was very similar, like I say, to what we have now. It was a little family. It was great. And, people would always be there to offer advice or say, oh, if you need a lift here, etc. Because obviously, prior to buses, it was cars, wasn't it, to away games. And I think what separates us, I think it was done properly, and it was done for me very well. Like, I know obviously Natalie was, the OG number one, as we all call it, BA1. And it just felt like family. I remember, like I say, coming to the back, and Nat just came up to me. She's like, oh, we've got a WhatsApp group, and what's this? And we just got chatting. I think it was great that, because like I say, when I've been to other clubs, I mean, without slating City too much, it didn't feel that welcoming and inclusive, and sort of sitting with your mates, and then there's a couple of other people saying, oh, well, we weren't allowed to sort of, sit with them, and it was kind of like, well, why? It's like unreserved seating, and like I say, I don't want to be here, sat digging other groups and whichever that's, but for me, I just felt more included and happier. I think, like I say, just that family feeling and the fact that, you know, it was so small at the start. We were like literally, I don't know, like I say, just a family, because we all knew each other and we got to know each other throughout the course of that season, and we're kind of all on this journey together. And, you know, people have come from different backgrounds. I know, you know, like you said, you knew Nat from the men. And obviously I knew certain people from the women's game that had kind of, you know, been around pre-United, that still sort of, you know, still watch their clubs now, or even come and watch United, you know. I think it's really good. And I think, you know, the atmosphere that's been brought, the songs, the rivalries, the travel. I mean, you know, let's not forget, sort of travel to away games wasn't huge. I mean, like, you know, City still did the odd bus or two. I think Chelsea and Arsenal may have done, but not that I was aware. And just the big following, the support, like Natalie says, there you go, family. And I think it's great because it's one of them where you can come to any one of us and you're not judged and you are included. And if you need help, you get it. You know, if somebody says, oh, well, where I can get the train to town, what can I do? There'll always be somebody that will say, well, you know, come with me, or I'll come into town and we'll get the bus together, or, you know, I'll give you a lift there, or nothing's ever too much trouble. And I was just grateful at the time that, you know, I could kind of come to the back or near the back, join you all, and kind of, you know, nobody kind of judged. Nobody said, oh, well, you know, he did this before, or she did that, or they're from whatever. You know, there was none of that. It was just come and join it, enjoy it, and let's just all, you know, go and have a laugh. And I think that for me, like I say, played a big part for me, and kind of, you know, and took off from there. And obviously, like, you'll know, you know, we did bits kind of voluntary, didn't we, to help run it, and, you know, still do. Obviously, you've got the driving that you do on the buses, and I'm involved with various bits. So I think it's just, yeah, it's just great, really. Great group to be a part of. And it's funny because all the negativity you read online, and yet people don't have a Scooby-Doo. And I've always said this, you know, people are quick to slate us. And it's great. Everyone can have an opinion, not a problem. But the amount of waffle I see when people have no idea, and all you have to do is speak to fans and players of opposition clubs, and they'll tell you how great it is. And I think that's, again, you know, it's good because I've never heard other clubs and other fans speak so highly of like a fan group. So I think, you know, all them points covered plus that for me was a big kind of pull for me.
Yeah, it is a big pull, mate, because, like, you know, everyone gravitates towards us. Whether you want, even if people don't want to be in with us singing, they maybe sit or stand to the side, but they'd always join in either with the clapping or with the or maybe joining the songs that they know. And it is, as you say, it's like one big family. It's inclusive. Yeah, we have the odd falling outs. What family doesn't have the odd falling outs? But at the end of the day, I respect every single one of them, you know what I mean? Every single one of the Barmy Army, mate. Every single member, every single non-member. People that always come up to you and say, "Oh, that was amazing, by the way. We've never heard anything like this." And I think it took a while, didn't it, for the players to get used to that as well. Our players, because they was like, "What the hell is that?" It's almost like this is not the norm, you know. It's like. It's like, who are these? Where's the, you know?
Yeah.
And it all started, as you said, on that day at Villa, probably with Natalie in that corner, you know, because we all know Nat loves a little bit of a sing song, doesn't she? You know, but I
think, like you said, I think that's what's great is that, you know, not everyone wants to be Barmy Army. Not everybody, you know, feels like they want to, which is absolutely fine. And I think, like you said, what's great is that people still join in. You know, they might not want to sit with us. They might be the other side. They might be the other stand. But they'll always, it's still fans together, isn't it? Like you say, you know, there's kind of Barmy Army and there's United fans. It's all one. Like you say, it doesn't matter if you are Barmy Army, you're not Barmy Army, you love it, you hate it. You know what I mean? Like I say, people clap and join in. We still all chat. And yeah, it's brilliant. There's no sort of us and them, if you like. Whereas I've felt that at other clubs, there's been like us, or we've been going for however many years. And then you've got your newbies, and it's like they're kind of looked down on by some fans. Whereas ours, you know, it doesn't matter whether you've been to one game, 100 games, do you know what I mean? Whether you've travelled, whether you've not, everybody is treated as one. And I think that for me is just what sets it apart, really, as well as you touched on, mate.
The biggest thing I get is that, for me, the biggest satisfaction I take out of all of it is when you get the players' families come up to you and say, wow, that was good. Thank you for supporting my daughter. Thank you for supporting our family. You know, and I think it's really a unique experience. Like it's because I come from the men's game, you know what I mean? You're not going to get Marcus Rashford's mum coming up to me and saying, wow, that was amazing, thanks for support, you know what I mean? And I felt, at first I felt a little bit embarrassed. I was like, well, isn't that what football fans are supposed to do? Sing a song, get behind the team, you know. It was a little bit alien to me, if you know what I mean, when everyone's coming up and saying, oh, wow, you know, that was amazing. And then, you know what I mean? And then going a little bit off topic when we go in to watch the England sides at youth level and under 21 level and all that lot. And then we're cheering our players on, and then you're getting like opposition, not opposition really, but people that non-United players, family come up to us and say like, wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's something that we've never seen. And then they're like, how the hell did you get in here, by the way? And it's like, well, you know what I mean? And we sort of jibbed our way in a little bit, you know. And the good thing is the first time that someone knew Phil Neville, so Phil said we could come and it was all right by that way, you know. But it's a very United thing to do, I think. You know, you go to the ends of the earth to support your players.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's a quite a unique thing, because I don't think there's many supporters groups that would have a few, you know, a handful of fans driving down in a car, you know, to go watch England to support, you know, the English, the Lionesses at various different age levels. You know, they might do for the senior Lionesses side, but you know, when you're rocking up at St George's Park, whether you're supposed to or not, you know what I mean? You know, we just was there to support, you know.
Yeah.
And as Natalie says here, now they expect it every game. They expect it all games.
I know. Do you know, it's quite funny that, because like you said before, they've gone from kind of like, oh my days, this is absolute madness, to like, oh, well, we couldn't hear you, or where was yours? There's less of yours. Do you know what I mean? There was always them little comments, it was funny, but yeah, listen, good times, you know. It's like you say, it's great, and it's great that, I mean, as you know yourself, obviously away games, services now, how many times do we bump into family? Yeah. And it's like they get to know us and you get to know them. And again, it's like it becomes a family away from the sort of the Barmy Army family, because you get to know players' family, and like you say, all the comments and the support, and it's just, yeah, can't even describe it. It's quality.
Yeah, it's madness. It's absolutely mental, mate. You know, I could speak again about the Barmy Army for hours and hours and hours on end, and you know, that'd probably be another topic for another time. You know,
but, our live.
Yeah. What I was going to say now, I was going to move on to some of the more lighter-hearted stuff. Like,
go for it.
I thought I'd get this one in because I know it was going to come. the ribbon that I got for these trophies that we did for the players.
Do you want to start and explain that story to all the viewers?
Well, yeah, well.
Was it January?
Yeah, it was January. It was like we sort of did like sort of well, I think was it goal of the month? Was it goal player? I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. I think it was.
Player of the month or
player of the month, wasn't it?
I can't remember now.
I can't remember. My memory is about as good as a goldfish, but all I know it was something to do with the players of the month or goal of the month. I think it was like that. Anyway, I ordered these 2 trophies, and then the trophy company got back to me and said, "Oh, we've had a problem with one of the trophies because it's no longer available, but we've given you a slight upgrade." Just like, that's fair enough. That is absolutely fair enough. Anyway, little did I know, on picking up these trophies, that one of the trophies is a little trophy. You know, I thought that's a nice size. You know, goal of the month, and then we had like, I think he was the player of the month, wasn't it? And the player of the month looked like a big full-on Ballon d'Or, didn't it?
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, it was obviously January, the original Charlton game got postponed. And to put it into context, the one that Molly got for Player of the Month is about probably the size of like an iPhone. So not the biggest. And we got on, didn't we? We met up at Old Trafford as we do. And I think I was in the very back of the bus. This was the first bus trip that we did as well. I think it was there 11 of us. And obviously you were in front of me and you was talking and saying, like you said, he said, look at these, like looking at Molly's. Yeah, pretty nice. That got a name engraved, nice, fancy little trophy. Explains the story. Alex Greenwood pulls out full-on Premier League replica. Like literally, it looked like the Ballon d'Or, though, didn't it? So we nicknamed it that. well, after that, the whole bus erupted, didn't it? We were howling. But instead of slight upgrade, we expected like maybe, an inch or two bigger. So we've gone from mobile. One was expected a little bit, not a literally a full-on Ballon d'Or champions. That so obviously all the banter and the jokes started, didn't they? Obviously, we didn't get to give them out, did we? Because as we know,
so that's another one on my list here. Oxygen Gate.
Yeah.
And you know what? Your favourite player and scored in that game as well. It was absolutely gutting because she came. If I remember correctly, she came over and sort of did you do the dab?
Yeah,
she did the dab, didn't she? Yeah, just before that.
Yeah,
mate.
But do you know what I remember about that trip?
For people.
Do you know what was funny about that was the fact that we were all planning it, and Fran was driving, and he was like, "Oh, Dartford, yeah, long way. We'll need to set off early." I think must have been the normal 2:00 kickoff anyway. So sets off and was planning it, and I think you come to mine and pick me up. Oh, what time you coming? At 5 a.m. Like, 5 a.m. How far is this place? Oh, he said it's a long way. We need to set off. So we left, didn't we, at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Little did we know, we got to Charlton at 9 a.m. for 2:00 kickoff. Players were just arriving, having breakfast. They were howling, weren't they? Honestly, I could not believe. Oh, I was just so tired. I just think, what an absolute idiot. We got to a game 5 hours early. 5 hours. I mean, I know we were keen and we were hardcore. So luckily, your trophy gate brightened up what was a pretty naff day. Because, like I say, obviously, the game got postponed due to oxygen or lack of oxygen. Everyone was just fuming, weren't they? Could not believe it. Casey was not best chuffed. We'll keep it polite. She was just swearing and ranting.
Mate, can I just say about Casey? Yeah, the eyes, the look that she glanced across.
That referee just
rammed me, mate.
But it was annoying because obviously they waited an hour for an ambulance, and then it was like, right, can we carry on? And they were like, no, we've not got any spare. And we were like, what do you mean you've got no spare? Well, we only carry one bottle because it's 500 quid, and we that's when we realised how shambolic, as well as bad referees, that kind of the teams and the pitches and everything was. And it was, I remember us saying, "Oh, amateur," and because we were obviously stood, weren't we, right next to the dugout. Yeah. Me and Nat went down to Frank. For those who don't know, Frank, Millie Turner's granddad, and we were chatting to him, and he was just kicking off as well, and it was so. I mean, it was funny to look back at now, but at the time it wasn't funny because, like I said, we'd left at 5 a.m. So we're all up at 4. Very little sleep. Made a 5-hour journey down there. Got there 5 hours early with nothing to do. Because let's not forget, it was like a sports club on it. There was a bit of a play courts, but they were locked up. And we had sort of 5 hours to kill. We got 10 minutes of a game and had to go all the way back. So obviously your trophies didn't get given out, did they? We had to wait until Leicester away, which was... Oh, when was Leicester away? It was probably about February time.
It was about a month later, wasn't near enough?
Yeah, it was a good month. But do you want to skip to that game then, whilst we're on about this story, because it all links in, doesn't it? Skip to Leicester.
Yeah, we'll skip to Leicester at the Quornberger place. Oh no, Quad FC. It was the play at Quad FC. But yeah, what was obviously. It was all right. As Frank, we come to mention Frank, he nicknamed it the candle lights. You remember the floodlights? He nicknamed it candle lights.
Yeah,
because it barely lit up there. It did the surface, did it really? On the game, mate. Again, another cracky performance from United. And I believe Ella too went on a bit of a spree that day.
You know what was funny? Because that game, my flag made its debut. So those.
Oh, of course it did, yeah.
Yeah. So my two at the minute, you'll probably see them on telly. I've got a Mary Earps one and an Ella Toon one. They're usually on the front row, tied up per every home game. And yeah, that flag made its debut, and I tied it up literally right behind that goal where we were. And it was funny because, like I said, she scored 4 goals. And I remember afterwards, her mum and dad sort of came up and we took a picture with a flag without holding fingers up like that. And then I think she took it, didn't she? She took it on the pitch. And all photographers did all the interviews.
Did you take it with Greenwood? Was it Bobby Green?
Giving out them trophies, we were like explaining, we didn't give them at Charlton because the mood and the thing wasn't right. Do you remember the story with that? Molly came over first and we're like, here you go. And she's like, she was made up, her face lit up. We're like, go and get Skipper. And she was like, Skipper? It's like, yeah, you know, skipper. And she was so confused.
Yeah.
Alex Green, oh, and it dropped. So she goes and gets Alex. And next minute, down advertising boards, Ben's picking up this, like I say, Champions League, Ballon d'Or, monstrosity. Alex was just crying, laughing, once she hands it over. Next minute, Molly Green's looking like this, and she's like, why do I get a little one? And she gets a big full-on trophy. Well, honestly, it wasn't really. We were just crying, laughing. It was one of them where you had to be there, wasn't it? And it was funny because we were ripping you about it. Alex was ripping Molly because she got a little doorstop wedge, as I call it. And it was just, it was funny. And do you remember all the comments on the way home?
Oh, mate.
The comments. You was getting ripped on Twitter. They were giving you a load of abuse for it. It was funny because, like I say, the players was tweeting us back. I think it was that bad. I heard that Alex had to give it a spare seat and strap it in because do you remember the next game?
Yeah, I do.
Leicester. In fact, it was Sheffield United, wasn't it? It was that evening one. And she was telling us, and she said, "Oh yeah, I had to. It got home safe and sound. It took up half my living room, and I had to strap it in." And we were just tweeting back and forth, weren't we? And she took a picture of it in a house, and it was brilliant. It was one of them ones that it was just. It was a good night, good result. We didn't leave that place till at least midnight. Didn't get home till about 2 a.m. All the tweets back and forth in the car. Players was just on the wind up. We were on the wind up, and you were just getting ripped left, right, and central for these slight upgrades. It was about
3-4. Crikey!
But yeah, like I say, I think that game I remember Tooney scored in 4 and Alex Greenwood's free kick. And after that, I don't remember too much else. I think Hansen may have scored. Because I remember Charlie set her up.
Yeah, she might have done, mate. Yeah.
But
do you know what? Just shows you how we do our research very well, don't we? We can't even remember the scorers.
See, yeah. But yeah.
You know.
And then after that, do you remember the Sheffield game on the way up, the 4-0 one? Remember that picture that we've tweeted out as well? Where we
yeah. That was a nice picture, that one. Yeah, a nice picture with David Pritt, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we
pull over here and pull over there. Like, yeah.
We did, yeah.
First, we found we couldn't really get a decent picture, could we? Then we had to drive on a little bit further down, and you know.
Yeah, on the way to the game,
he's got it all on. He put it all on a timer. We're there going.
Yeah, I do remember that. We walked for ages, so didn't we, to find a wall to hold up 3 flags at the highest viewpoint, sort of in between Manchester and Sheffield. I remember that. Like you say, trying to find a wall, self-timer, leg it, and then hold them up, and then get to the game. But again, another good game, another win on the road, and it was good because that was sort of the business end of the season, wasn't it?
It was, mate. Yeah.
It's still putting like 3s and 4s plus past teams.
Yeah.
It was just again Sheffield. It was packed at that ground. Sort of good times, and then obviously. Yeah, wasn't many games left after that.
Just to answer that question, how many United shirts do I have? I have too many. I've got boxes full under the bed and everything, mate.
Big collection.
Big collection.
What's on your list after Leicester then? Your next talking point?
Well, my next talking point was going to go skip everything a little bit because otherwise we'd be here all night. It's going to go and talk about cup competitions.
Yeah, okay.
Really, if I may start with the FA Cup, the Conti Cup, I want to come up to that a little bit later because we did really, really well in the Conti Cup. Yeah. But obviously in the FA Cup, to skip it really briefly, we beat Brighton, who were a WSL team at that time. We beat London Bees, and then we went on to a quarter-final game against our favourite opposition, our bogey side, Reading again. Now this game had also had talking points, a lot of talking points if you remember. Dodgy referee decisions and conceding a last minute or late goal. And what going into that game, an FA Cup quarter final against Reading, again, another team, a division above. We already played him in the Conti Cup earlier on in the season. Were you going into that game confident of it we could go and progress into the semis? Or was you thinking, I'm not too sure about this one? Did a bit of a, which to be fair has been proved time and time again. They're a bit of a bogey side for us, But obviously, it was early days that day. We were going to be able to tell there was a bogey side. What was your overriding feelings on that day before kickoff? Was you optimistic? Was you like, we're going to win, or was you a bit?
I think because, like I said at the start of the show, obviously because we give them a decent game at home, okay, we'd lost. I think this game came at the point where we'd started to click, we'd started to gel as a team. We're looking good. Obviously, like you touched on, we beat Brighton, who were WSL. Okay, they're not as good as Reading, but it was still a WSL team. And I think prior to that, I'm sure at that time we would have beaten Everton as well in the Conti Cup. I'm pretty sure we would have done at Southport.
Yeah, I left that one out because obviously we'll come to the Conti Cup a little bit after this. But you are right, though. We have beaten WSL teams in cup competition along the way. But
so prior, obviously, so looking at that, I thought, we've got a half decent chance, assuming we've learned from the first game. We should have a good chance. Obviously, it was an away game, so away games, obviously, as we know, can be tougher than a home game. So we'd gone down, and we kind of held our own, hadn't we, up until the end. So it was like, okay, 0-0 near the end, not too bad. Gets to, 87th minute, maybe a little bit earlier. Penalty. It's like, ooh. So I think was you, me, Nat, and a few others. We ran down, didn't we, to the other end?
That's right, yeah.
So we ran down anyway, right to the far end. Penalty goes in. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely, but like, we're winning. We've learned from our mistakes. We're winning. So here we go. Runs back up to our end, sort of where the main travelling sort of fans were. And then wasn't long, was it a minute, if that? They kicked off, up our end, scored. and for the first time, it was one of them where you thought, bloody hell, we've not even held on to a lead for sort of 5 minutes. We panicked. And I don't remember, was it? Yeah, I'm sure it was there. A cross came in, it was one of them fluke crosses, and I think Chamberlain dropped it or she didn't deal with it, and it was a bit of our own doing. And gutted, it went in 1-1. So I was like, okay. So whistle goes, it gets to extra time, thinking, fair enough, 1-1 at extra time, considering we've managed to nick what we thought was a last minute winner. I suppose, we're not doing too bad. And then the tiredness creeps in, doesn't it? But we pull ahead. We get our goal, thinking, right, this is the one. We've got this now. We're not going to cock up again. We're going to learn. Nope, wasn't done there. Gets to 2-2, didn't it? It was like, right, okay, 2-2. It was like, we'll take this on penalties. I was pretty confident at the time. I thought, done all right. Tiredness is kicking in, but we'll scrape through. Last minute, 120th minute, conceded. Oh, do you know what? There's been a lot of good times following the club, and there's been a few lows. And I think that has probably got to be one of the lowest points of following the team. It really has. I think, out of the 3 seasons as well, I think the final whistle went, and it was one of them where you felt, I did. I felt like I wanted to cry. And it was just because I don't know what it was. And we were all absolutely gutted because you could see, couldn't you, the players are cramping up. They were knackered. They were in tears afterwards. It was one of them games where it's like football is either sky high and brilliant, isn't it? And your emotions are up here, or it's very, very cruel. And this was just cruel because of what sort of how far we'd come and how well we'd performed. And we literally lost it on like laps of concentration, and then just literally sort of running out of steam, really. And I remember that bus ride home was horrible. Because I don't think none of us barely spoke. I mean, anyone that's jumped on a Barmy Army bus knows, even at 5-6 in the morning, everybody's bouncing. You're just so excited. We barely sleep during the night before. And this one, we come back, and like I said, players are in tears. And I've never come across, barring it being, like, say, a cup final in the past, players being in tears. And I think that moment really sort of galvanised us and hit home, and there was a lot. There'll have been a lot of learning coming from that, and obviously the Durham defeat sort of pre-Christmas as well. A lot of learning, and it was one of them where, to come away that devastated against what was a top 4 quality WSL team showed for me how far we came. And I remember it took a few days to sort of get over it, and then looking back, it was sort of like an immense sense of pride because we were still championship. We were still okay. We were top, and we were, like I say, hammering teams, but end of the day, we're more than holding our own. I think that was one of them, like I say, absolutely just gutting. Could not believe it. Like, I felt with the 2 leads we took, that we sort of, we'd see it through and we deserved to go through on the back of, what was a much improved performance. And yeah, that was sort of a difficult one to take, that Reading game.
It was difficult as well, mate. I don't know, I was just really annoyed with the referee as well. I think I was saying, I'm pretty sure that was the game where I was like, get that referee, come and let him come over here and speak to us, It was a bit of a disgraceful performance from the referee.
Yeah.
But we all know how bad the referees are in this league, so the less said about them, the better. But that was the game where I smashed a bottle in my bag, and I forgot I had the Copperberg. Do you remember?
That fruit to cider. I think, I remember that. You had it in your rucksack, and I remember it. Was that because we were doing an interview, weren't we? And that, I said, can I smell like cider or berries or something? And you went, oh, I've got one of them. My bag turned around, like dripping down everywhere. Yeah, that was the only, I like that. That was the only bit that made me chuckle. And then you having to tip your bag and dry it on the way, the way home. But
mate,
that Reading game just,
mate, that was one of the lowest games I've ever felt, mate. Following any United side, bitterly disappointed. You know what I mean? I was like, then seeing the players' reactions at the end, it was.
I just couldn't believe how many.
I was gutted more for them than for us travelling, because they put everything into it. As you said, though, you could tell that tiredness was creeping into the legs a bit and everything, And because some of the players, it was their first ever sort of full-time professional,
Yeah, absolutely. How many you carried as well in that team? And I don't know. It was one of them where you look back now and you think, wow, what a great sort of chance we had to get far, but what a great goal we gave of it. Like I say, it's easy to kind of, at the time, like I say, it was easy to be sort of a little bit annoyed and felt hard done by. I say that, I don't like blaming refs, but like I said, the referee performance was atrocious. But it was one of them really, I think. But I think for me, that defeat and the Durham defeat, like I say, we probably took the most learning from and really pushed us on. And even the Arsenal, I know we're going on to a Conti Cup, even the Arsenal defeat, I think, they probably gave us the most in terms of learning and sort of shaped us for the rest of the season and to sort of where we are today, really.
That Reading game just reminded me a little bit as well of the Durham away game, because that Reading game they were the second team after Durham that came and celebrated in front of us, because obviously, what we're like, we're singing and we're trying to be intimidated a little bit, but I just remember them as well after the Beth Heppel shushing incident at Durham,
Over like that, didn't they? Yeah. I think the thing was, the difference for me was, I think Durham, we were poor.
Yeah.
And I think they'll admit that. I think the Durham game, we didn't cope with the physicality. We got kicked. I remember Hansen got kicked. She had a cut under her eye. And I remember the ref didn't book it. And then there was the penalty debate. And he said, it was one of them blonde ones. Booked the wrong player that we booked. I think he booked, it was either Smithy or Molly. There was somebody that was in our own box. And it was in the complete opposite box. And he booked a player that was about 100 yards away. But anyway. So
it's because the lineups.
I think
the blonde one. When a few with blonde hair, they didn't have a clue, mate.
The Durham game, though, I think because we were so poor, it was sort of it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as the Reading one, because the Reading one we knew we'd give them a hell of a good game, and we'd taken the lead twice, and we really had them on the ropes, like you say, to the fact that they came over and there was like this and shushing us. They were rattled by us that game. They really were.
Yeah, they were rattled. Right then, moving on to the other cup competition, the Continental Tires Cup, or the Conti Cup as it is for short. Our group, by the way, was a bit juicy, wasn't it? We had ourselves, Reading, Everton, Durham, and Liverpool.
Yeah.
That was a juicy group. And then, obviously, we ended up managing to top that group.
We did.
What team, Matt, tell me, came bottom of the pile?
Liverpool, wasn't it?
It was Liverpool, my friend.
I was thinking
WSL Liverpool, by the way.
Because I remember, because Durham got the same amount of points, didn't they?
That's right, yeah.
They nicked it on goal. Well, they nicked third bottom on goal difference, I seem to remember. They had an identical, because it was one of them, wasn't it, where it goes to obviously the penalties to get the extra point thing. And I think they managed, I can't remember now, they managed to get an extra point and they tied it, but they finished bottom. All that piping up that they were doing.
Yeah. So we won 3 of the games, and I think we lost 1 game. top of the group with 9 points. Reading with 7. Everton with 6. Durham with 4. Liverpool with 4. The Everton game you mentioned earlier, that one was a bit of a special one, wasn't it?
Do you know? I remember we in fact you were there because you and Nat turned up late with me. Traffic or work or struggling to park. I remember walking in and who was on commentary now? Ben Thornley was on commentary. And I remember my mate texted me like, "Are you the loud ones that's just walked in?" And he sent me a clip and it was, "Oh, here comes the noisy Man United fan." And it was Nat. And then seeing on the clip, there was Nat and me and you behind us trotting in. Like I said, it was probably about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour before. It was later than we normally go in.
Yeah.
But I think there wasn't many of, would you say about 12? There's a picture of it somewhere. Definitely on. And I think that was the first time actually that we had Instagram around about that sort of December time. Was it the last game before Christmas maybe? Or second to last?
It was something like that. Anyway, second to last.
Yeah, afterwards we went to see him and a couple of Christmas cards were exchanged and all that with our new family. But yeah, we went there and there wasn't many of us. And I remember out singing them in that away end at Southport. And like I say, wasn't many of us. And that was a game again. They weren't great. They were struggling. But listen, they were still a WSL team. You know, there were still decent players there or, you know, half decent. And yeah, it was, you know, we went there. And I'm sure we had 2 goals ruled out. You know, I'm convinced. I'm sure. I remember a Leah Galton header and an LJ header because I remember it thinking that's quite rare for 2 players that don't hit the ball. And we still went there and we won. And it was like, 3-0, clean sheet, comfortable. And we had 2 chalked out for offside. And again, like you said, you know, that sort of after the Durham game, because that was before that, it sparked a bit of a boost, didn't it, really? Into the players, and yeah, we went and good Christmas after that.
Yeah. I always remember that game because that game stands out as one of the for some people one of the best atmospheres. Even though there was about, as you said, probably about 12, 15 of us. You know, it was a cracking atmosphere. You know, we took over their terrace. You know, it was yeah. But I just remember that one being up there as. Some of our fellow Barmy Army members, it was their sort of best atmosphere.
Yeah.
But for me, it's one of the games that we're going to come on to in a second. But then, obviously, we went to the quarterfinals. Then we beat another WSL side, but this time I think West Ham brand new the WSL. They were a brand new set formed team as well, weren't they? That season.
Yes, I think they were because they were in the 3rd tier. And I think because of the funding and the license, I think, they definitely skipped the championship. And I think they put them straight into the WSL because what annoyed me was, one, that they'd skipped there and we started championship, which I later found out we chose to do. And 2, all the aggro we got in the championship for being pro, and yet they'd skip leagues. And but anyway, that's another story. But yeah, West Ham.
Yeah, we beat them 2-0. And that game as well was the one that's... So I was giving a bit of jip to is it Jack Sullivan? Is that his name, Jack? Yeah. he was above us in the box above my left hand shoulder in the boxes, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think it was one of them where it was like, again for me, West Ham were better than Everton.
Yeah,
certainly that season anyway, a better team. And I think again, you know, it was an evening game. We won 2-0 at home. It was one of them where it was kind of, we started a little bit slow, didn't we? And maybe wobbling, kind of maybe respected them a little bit too much. Went in 1-0 up at half time due to, I think, was it an own goal? Because I think Jess bullied that defender and she put it in her own net. Anyway, we went in and a little bit cagey. And then second half, we come out, and I think 10 minutes into the second half, we scored again. And that was Jess's goal. About 10 minutes in roughly. And kind of went on. And it was really weird because I think that was probably the most, apart from Durham, probably the most physical game that we kind of, you know, or physical team that we come up against, like I say, barring Durham. And still, again, like I say, you know, they were sitting probably mid-table in WSL. And again, we just, like I say, after the Reading sort of defeat, we just seemed to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, I just remember that. Anybody that's ever watched that program of Jack Sullivan on the BBC, me and Nat do make an appearance on that, giving him absolute chip. Yeah, giving an absolute chip after the game. Yeah. Friendly banter, like, but yeah. And then to complete the Conti Cup off, and this is personally, for atmosphere-wise, still the best away day for me. Was Arsenal at Boreham Wood.
Talk about I was stuck in the pub because of work, obviously, because I work in schools. I couldn't get down because it's midweek. So do you want to take the lead on that one? I was in the pub watching. So
yeah, I will do, mate. I will do. So basically, those a few of us got the train down this time. There was no bus this time. We all went on to train, and then I think it was me, Nat, Dave Pritt, Mark. We went on the train, and then I think we met. James met Ian along the way as well. We met as well, so we all sort of met up with each other along the way, and then basically I think we was having a few drinks on the train, and then we had to get another couple of trains to Boreham Wood or wherever the hell the train station were. I can't remember, but all I remember that's everyone's having to try and calm her down. It was just, the thing about Arsenal was actually they had their own like because most clubs always like either Sheffield terrace, But this time, you have your little away end. It was like, oh, United fans this way. They had like signs up. I was like, that's pretty smart. That. What's unbelievable how many of the men's fans that we met there. We met a guy called Mick Groom, who people that know him, if you know Mick Groom, know he follows United's men's sides everywhere, home way, Europe. He was there. I just remember the atmosphere was absolutely electric, mate. Do you know what I mean? I think pre-game, was it BT or BBC that had the game? I can't remember now.
Yeah, because I've BT, so I went to the pub, you see, a couple of mates, like I say, because obviously being in work, we got it on BT.
Yeah, so BT Sport were there, and then they had the trophy there on the table, and I think Nat went to go and take a picture with it or whatever. I can't remember what she did with it. But yeah, anyway, so that game was, mate, I think we went toe to toe with them for a long time.
Yeah.
The difference between us and them was they have a striker that puts the ball in the back of the net for fun. She's Vivian Wiedemark. I can't even say her name, but yeah, she was like that couple of chances she had, she stuck them in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And obviously Molly Green scored, and we went mental, mate.
I remember seeing the fly in the air.
That's the what I was going to get on to. The last thing I remember was I lost my hat. My scarf went flying in the air. I lost my glasses. I just didn't care, mate. I was absolutely I think Shane as well.
Yeah.
We all rushed the front. It was all like bang on the boards. Their goalkeeper hated us, mate. She was, like I said to you previously, she was intimidated, mate. She didn't like it. She was trying to tell the referee or something like, these are bang on the boards. These are making so much noise. Mate, it was unreal, man. And the last thing I also take about that performance was, if we just had that extra little bit of time, the game was about 5 minutes longer, we'd have took them to extra time. We may have even beaten them. Because I remember us bringing Kirsty Hansen on, and she was mothering their fullback. She was absolutely murdering their fullback. The Arsenal fullback, her legs are gone. They're gone, Hansen was murdering them. And so I think we had the extra 5 minutes. I think we'd have took it to extra time, It was just a shame. It was a really decent performance against probably one of the best sides in the WSL. I agree.
what kind of thing did it for me? What kind of split it was, like you say, won the quarter. But I think, again, sort of legs went. I think because in the championship, we were so used to having the ball. I think this was the first team that was pretty decent on the ball. I think first half we're chasing shadows, but I think the final 25 minutes, I'd say, like you said, we're all over them. I think a little bit of tiredness and maybe an experience. And like you say, Molly's goal went in. And after that, we had chances. We kept Miedemar pretty quiet for most of the game. And some of the other half-decent players, Nobbs, Van der Donk. But yeah, again, one of them. Good. I think it was just a bonus, really, wasn't it, that cup? Because we didn't know how far we could go. And we sort of took each game as it came. And then, like I say, got pretty close to Arsenal for a championship side. We look back now and our team compared to theirs, it was different levels. And yeah, looking back, wasn't a bad result, but didn't ruin the season, did it? We enjoyed the run and the little ride.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. It was just, mate, that night, the whole day, the whole experience of that was just pure Barmy Army. That was pure United away from home antics. It was just, that's why I always hold that one as the highest of the high. The levels that we've got to. Yeah, yes, we've got up there, but I just think that one just shades it for me. Yeah. Obviously, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to skip all the way through now.
There's one thing, though, that we haven't mentioned before we push on. April, the last away game. I don't know if that's on your list.
It is, but I was going to get into being confirmed as champions first, which we were.
Yeah, because that was before. We'll do that one.
Yeah, so that I was going to come on to that, lad, because I was going to get into the month of April. So anyway, the month of April, we were playing Crystal Palace at home, and we absolutely smashed them 7-0, and that was the day that we was officially confirmed as champions. And I tell you now, mate, LSV was rocking that day. Do you know what I mean? And the thing that I take out of it more than anything was not the performance of the pitch, not the goals, was at the end. The whole place erupted, mate. And I remember getting up on the seats, and I think Natalie was bouncing around somewhere. She does. I think she was on the seats as well, but eventually she went crowd surfing somewhere. I can't remember where she ended up being. But anyway, I remember we got on our seats. We were like, champion, he's champion. You know what I mean? I just remember that one, and then it was unreal, the atmosphere that day. What was your favourite memory of the day that we was officially confirmed as champions? Was it the performance on the pitch, or was it the fact that we just won in our first ever season as a fully professional outfit? We've gone and we've blew the league away. And yet people will come out and say, oh, well, you had the money, you had this, you had that. Remember, it was still quite a young squad. Yeah. All had to mix together, all had to come together, and all had to play well, and we still had to go out there and perform.
Yeah.
Some games where we, like for example, Durham, where we was absolutely shocking. But what was your favourite part of that whole day?
I think for me, obviously, apart from wrapping up the title, I think it was just the way it was done. I think, like you said, we had a young squad, and I'm pretty sure I read, and it might have been in the first sort of opening game of the season program, that the average age was like 22, 23, maybe even 21. Anyway, somewhere between 21 and 23. So it was a young squad. And I think just the manner of the professionalism. I mean, like I say, young squad, we knew Tottenham had pushed us quite far and given us a decent run for our money, chasing us in second. And I think there was pressure on us, like I say, because of the money we'd spent, and everyone was moaning professional. And we knew we had to win. And obviously we're coming up against Palace at home in front of our fans. And like I say, just the professionalism. I remember Lauren ran riot. Did she get 3-4 in that game, in the 7-0 win? She ran riot anyway. And I just remember just being satisfied that we didn't bottle it, because let's not forget, Palace had some decent players, I don't know if you did the away game. A few people went to the away game anyway, but it was one of them where we were given a game, and I think, like I say, just the overall performance, the ruthlessness to carry on. something Casey mentions all the time. You know, you don't be content with going 1-2, 3-0 up. Let's keep going, and we did. And is it 7-0 that finish?
7-0, yeah.
To become, like I said, champions. So we were. Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Like I said, we went up and kind of, like I say, just the professionalism really to kind of not only get a victory, but, you know, comfortably sort of see it out as well.
Yeah, you did mention Palace away there. Yeah, me and Nat, a couple of us others went down in the car, and that's up there with the favourite away day of mine as well, because Palace fans actually gave us banter back, actually sang back at us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we will get onto that game, that Millwall game.
This is my favourite away game of that season. The rearranged Charlton was up there, you know, because of that group photo where they all come to, because I think he had scored for Sheffield against Tottenham. They beat Tottenham, didn't they? Sheffield. Yeah. We got a squad photo, but Millwall for me was just the away game of the season, and we'll get onto that now, but for many reasons. Go on.
Yeah. Oh God! Right.
Where do we start?
Another great victory, 5-0, I believe it was, from memory serves me right.
Yeah.
And all season long, well, not all season long, for the majority of the season, I had a little bet. For those who don't know, most know, but for some who don't know, perhaps, I had a little bet with a player called Martha Harris, and I said to her, I don't even know where it came from, I can't remember, but I said to her, if she scores a goal, I'll shave my beard off.
I think it was somebody mentioned about goals, and there wasn't many come the end of the season who hadn't scored for us. I think it was the Kirsty Smith and Martha. And bearing in mind, Martha scored for a while, and you did go on, carry on your story. You picked Martha.
Do you know what? I think no, because you know she was like blowing teams away, and I think and I was like, oh, if Martha Harris scores, I don't know for the life of me why I picked Martha, but I thought who's more the most unlikeliest to get a goal, and I thought, well, Martha, you know, I kind of like her as a player as well, so I was like, yeah, I'll pick Martha, you know. So at the end of the game, I can't remember what game it was now off the top of my head, but I went down to the front and basically told her, and then Siobhan Chamberlain, the goalkeeper, United's goalkeeper at the time, she was like, oh, but she'll never score. And I remember Martha giving her a little bit of bounce back, going, oh, but I scored plenty past you in training. So anyway, so I got this flag made up, and obviously if Martha scores, I'll shave my beard, like type thing. And that hung up at every game, home game, away game. And what I didn't know at the time was, obviously, what I did know between us, it become a bit of a thing, didn't it? And at the time, I didn't know up until what happened. I didn't know at the time how big it had become within the club as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, we go to Millwall. She's doing a little mazy run. I said, "Oh, go on then, Martha. Go on then." She got into the box and she got tripped. And I was like, penalty. You know, I think I let Martha take it because obviously Zellum had the ball in hand, didn't she?
We all chanted.
Yeah. So anyway, so next thing I know that I turned away thinking, oh, Zellum's taking it. So who was I talking to? Was it Shane? I was talking to Shane.
All initially.
Or whoever it were anyway. And then someone tapped me on the shoulder and goes, no, Martha's taking it. I was like, what? Yeah, come on, Martha. And I'll tell you what, mate, when the penalty went in, I've never celebrated a goal like that. I just sort of did everyone sort of rushed on me, and I sort of collapsed I was crushed between this barrier thing. And all I remember is doing like a Van Nistelrooy celebration type thing when he scored a penalty against Arsenal the season after he missed one against Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I arms in the air, eyes closed, head back, you know. And I just remembered it being absolute scenes, man. I got crushed, mate. The best thing ever. And then I'm skipping a few parts, I know, but
I'll fill in when you finish. But go on.
But anyway, I got a phone call from Pete Ashcroft, and he's like, "Oh, Ben, you know this is." I said, "Yeah. Whatever you do, don't go. Stay where you are because something's going to happen at the end." And I thought it'd just be like a photo or something, or an interview with it, or whatever. But little did I know, the whole team's coming over. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? So at the full time, the whole team's coming over, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I remember Deborah saying to me, Ben, this is your moment. Whatever you do, just live this moment.
Yeah.
So the whole team comes over. Next thing I know, come on with this bag thing. I was like, what the hell's in this bag? And they're pulling out all these clippers, you know, the old Remingtons. Getting the Remington clippers out. And I was like, oh my God. And then there's that famous picture of Martha handing over the Remingtons to me, you know. And that's what I mean when I say I didn't know it'd become a big thing within the club. And that just goes to show you how again, a little bit different the women's game is to the men's game. Because if I said if Victor Lindelof actually could defend and header a ball, I'll shave my beard. You know what I mean? I don't think that the club would give me Remingtons for it. Do you know what I mean?
No,
it was just that special, mate. That was a special moment, mate. People always say, "Oh, what's next, Ben? Maybe you should shave your beard." I couldn't do it again, mate, because that was special.
It's not the same, is it? Yeah,
it's not, mate. No.
I think because we're a bigger group now, I think what was great about season 1 was because there was a few of us, they weren't used to it. There was sort of that close bond, wasn't there? It was like they knew the sort of hardcore traveling sort of 10, 15 fans, didn't they, really? But I think for me, so starting at the Millwall journey from the start, I think obviously last away game of that season, went down on the bus and there was like there was a carnival or something, wasn't there? There was like barbecue, there was a nice cream, man. It was brilliant. But I think we started off with foot golf. That was a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Foot golf. They had a foot golf at that.
I had a mare in that foot golf, mate.
It was a nice little ground, that, you know. Like I say, I enjoyed that just for the atmosphere inside and outside. You're obviously your beard thing, but the game was great. And obviously going back to your beard, I remember I was stood behind you, and I think it was Stacey that got the video, and you scored, and I jumped on your back, but I think you got pushed or something, and I went over you. I just remember you grabbed because there was a ball kid in front. And I remember going over like that and like literally like arms out, like, oh God, I'm thinking I'm going to go on pitch here. I'm going to flip. I think you just grabbed me back like that, and ball girl was like looking up worried. And the scenes, it was.
It was limbs everywhere, wasn't it? Actually, that was the proper limbs everywhere stuff, wasn't it?
I was like jump on your back briefly and like, you know, push myself up on you and be like above you, and I ended up nearly went, and then like you say, obviously afterwards Remington came over. He was presented with the Clippers. I think Martha did like your picture with you and the flag, and then the group photo, and it was and then afterwards we nabbed the ball. No, we took a ball. Didn't we? And went on the Astro and had a Barmy Army penalty shootout. And then, of course, we had a big meal because I think that was the first time we run. Did we run 2 buses there? We might have done. I can't remember. But we had a big meal anyway, didn't we, at the local pub? There was about 25 of us, some of the local London United fans. And it was just what a great way to end the final game of the season. Martha gets the goal. Everybody was just like piling onto you, and like, oh, Ben, and all this. Remington tweeted us, didn't they? Because I said,
oh yeah, Remington,
we did the charity shave at Hotel Football, and I think because we donated some money, didn't we, to the foundation, and I think they picked up on that and tweeted us back. So I remember, I think I've still got a follow now.
Yeah, I'll still from him. Yeah.
I think we sent him the video and we did it live, didn't we, on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram. And it was great because obviously you got that, and charity, like I say, charity got some money, and what a fantastic day.
Yeah, and United have also got the flag as well, so the museum, it's
museum. Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the museum, but they have got it as part of their stock. Correct. If they ever wanted to put it out into the museum, but oh my days, that was a day, that wasn't it, eh? But I also remember Ellen saying to me, like, oh, you know, he's embarrassed now. Look at him, sort of trying to, you know, about it. I didn't expect it, man. I was like just shocked more than anything.
I think, do you know what, though? It was weird because I didn't think we'd top how good that day was. And then 2 weeks later, final game of the season.
Oh, mate. And another 5-0 as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember that Amy Palmer, absolute rocket. It's just 11.
Mate. That was a goal. That, mate.
Oh, but Do you know what? I don't remember too much. Well, I do, but the main sort of memories for me wasn't actually the game. It was the aftermath, if you want to get into that. So obviously we won 5-0, as you touched on. And then trophy presentation. Again, you know, it was down at the front, snapping away all the pictures and that. And then do you want to explain the after bit to the viewers?
Yeah, we had some like Player of the Seasons awards, didn't we?
Top scorer, lifetime
top scorer, Golden Glove won it for Chamberlain.
As voted for
Player of the Season as well, didn't we? Did Lauren get one? I thought Lauren got one. I can't remember what for.
Jess Tooney, Shiv. Oh, did Lauren? I can't remember. Jess Tooney and Shiv, anyway, was 3 of them.
Yeah. And
the club very kindly let us go pitch side to present these awards to players. And I think, like we talked about the closeness, I think I've never, ever, never will forget that. I think just massively grateful. There was sort of me, you, Shane, was it Mark, Deb and Nat? And the club brought the players to us and we handed out these trophies pitch side, didn't we? Got all the pictures and videos. I know a few of us were lucky enough to sort of get pictures with the players and the medals. And then after that, they topped it, didn't they, with the trophy?
Yeah. Well, I didn't get all the trophy. I wasn't too bothered about the trophy. I got to put Kirsty Hansen's medal around my neck. I was all right, mate. That was me. I wasn't bothered about trophy.
No, I think for me that was the biggest thing because I can't think who brought the trophy over, and I think I definitely got a pic with Charlie in the trophy, and then I think after that I passed it around, so I was like on my head lifting it up. But what a day! I can't even describe it. Buzzing, absolutely.
It was buzzing, mate. You know what I mean?
Just grateful to United for doing that, and then. I mean, on the back of that, I was in France at the time, but you were all invited down to Old Trafford, weren't you, for an MUTV interview for the documentary? So, yeah. And then obviously, as you can see over the other side, that side, I had the pleasure of getting one of the shirts. Do you know what? I'm going to go and get it, lad. One of the shirts from that season of Charlie.
I have to explain this is a match-worn shirt, by the way.
It's a match-worn shirt. Actually, there was a little girl that got her pink one. I was given a choice, and at the time, I didn't like the pink. This was my favourite, but looking back, maybe I should have asked for the pink. But this is the 3rd shirt, match-worn. So on the front, thanks very much for the support. Lots of love, Charlie Devlin. And then she'd signed it at the bottom there. But I think that for me just topped off the season because the whole season was memorable. The fact that we got to sort of give out the medals and trophies, etc., as well. And then, like I say, to get that shirt as well for me. And then, bigger surprise afterwards outside. I think, did you get some off Chamberlain, some gloves?
No, because I can't remember who was I talking to. And then I thought, no, listen, I'd rather have the kids have it and everything because everyone rushed to and I'm not like that, me, mate. But no, I didn't, unfortunately. But, fair play to her for giving out gloves, that's a really special thing.
Well, after that, the players had the party, didn't they? And I think Chamberlain came out early to get changed. And, Kit came out with a rucksack. I think she must have given away at least 10 pairs of gloves. And I was shocked because she came up to me and she's like, I've seen you at a few away games. Thank you for your support. And I remember just being blown away because it was one of them where with the shirt, I kind of knew I was getting it because she'd messaged me and she was like, which one do you want? And I'll sort it last game. So I knew that was coming. But to get those gloves from Chamberlain, absolutely buzzing. And they actually sit, I'll not go and get it, but they sit framed. I got them framed up. So they need to go on the wall at some point. But honestly, that season, then we had the night out, didn't we?
Yeah, just before the night out though, but it was going back to the Millwall game away. I just remember getting a couple of cases of beer from Kirsty Hansen's family, Kirsty Hansen herself, which, that didn't have to do it. I'm just doing my job as a supporter, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, why are you thanking me for? I'm just doing
I remember that, yeah.
But it just shows the appreciation and it just shows the respect that we have from the players and their families, which it makes it so unique and so special. And that's why That's why I said earlier on Twitter, nothing, whatever we go and do, nothing will top this season. Yes, winning a European Cup will be special. Yes, winning the WSL will be special.
Yeah.
But for the uniqueness of this season, and because it was, like you said, the Brest Miami has grown over the 2.5 seasons. Well, just over 2.5 seasons we're playing. It's grown massively. But that first season, when there was about 12, 15, 20 of us, you know,
it was the relationship, wasn't it, between fans and players?
Yeah. So that's what I take away from that as well. But the night out, where to begin?
Well, I think me and you were still. They were in there for ages. We were still at Lee at 11 p.m. They came out and they were, thanking those. There wasn't many of us left thanking us for the support for the season, and a bit of a chat, and off we went. And because we'd planned, hadn't we? Me, you, Nat. I think no, Dave wasn't there. Me, you, Nat, and then Anthony and Stacey joined us, didn't they? But we were out in town, and I can't even remember how we stumbled across it. We ended up in a bar, and the whole team, were in the bar. And I think I remember first because I thought I'd seen one of them, and Nat thought I was winding her up, and then come back out and I was like, "Yo, they're all in there." And we went, and I just remember the absolute chaos. And we'll not go into it too much, but and then obviously Anthony and Stacey joined us. And I just remember it was quality, wasn't it? Because it was not like they sat and ignored us, people who was buying us drinks, was doing pictures and all. It was just, it topped off a crazy day. I certainly remember, we must have got home. It was light. It was crawling.
Mate, we jumped to the taxi, mate. I remember we were struggling to open doors. Do you remember? The taxi guy was like, push this button out. You were there, push every single button, going. The windows going up and down. Which one is it? And mate, I had exactly the same problem when he dropped me off. I was like, which button is it, mate?
Well, we got in because the men were playing Cardiff, weren't they, the next day? And I think we must have got in about 6. And I think I was meeting you at 10 a.m. So 4 hours sleep. Yeah. Could not climb any stairs in hotel football. I remember Anthony had his red Terminator, I called it.
Oh my God, yeah.
We wanted to, obviously the girls were lifting the trophy and parading it, weren't they, for the Cardiff games? So it was like, right, we'll get in there early, we'll get in, get settled and that. Don't remember that Cardiff game, pal. I remember Anthony falling down the stairs because he was a couple of rows behind me.
I remember it being an absolute dross game from United, to be fair, for the men's team, Yeah. And I think people were starting to get on the Edward Wood's back and stuff like that. It wasn't a particularly nice atmosphere that day. But the best thing was when they allowed the women's team to come out and parade the trophy, parade the trophy around Old Trafford, and for those players, the OG 21 to be at Old Trafford and to have their picture taken in front of the Sir Alex Ferguson stand, that must have been memorable for them more than anything. I was chuffed to bits more than anything because obviously my mates around me that sit around me at Old Trafford, because obviously I started the game sitting in my usual seat in the East Stand. They was like, oh. They kind of knew who was already champions because I told them about it, and so when they come up, they was like, they're not big fans of women's football. They just maybe keep an eye out and see how they're doing and everything. But I just remember some Arduent United fans that probably would never watch a women's game in their life. They all stood up and went fair play and applauded.
Yeah,
that's what United's all about: winning titles. Representing the club, in absolute play, the best way possible, and they were proud that day. I just remember Reds, Reds that have never watched women's games of football, that they're always like, oh, I never watched women's football. Women's football was this and that. They all stood up and went, fair play, clapped and went, that's what United's all about, that, And I just thought, I think that day, man, that team, that OG 21, gained the respect of a lot of Reds that probably never have looked at a women's team and gone, but that day, mate, trust me, Old Trafford, not one negative comment around me. Usually you probably get someone trying to do the wolf whistles or someone going, oh, they should be there, should be doing this. But not one, man. They all stood up and applauded. And I remember the chants of United started going around as well, in some sections, people like, singing champions as well, and I thought that was pretty good. And then I thought at half time, I remember, as I said bye to my mates, you know, who I always sit around every week in, week out at Old Trafford. And I thought I'd go and find you in that, you know, because I know you're just to the right hand side of me in the J stand there. I thought I'll come and find you, and we can see out the second half together and have a bit of a laugh and everything. I'm glad I did, because it was an absolute crap game, wasn't it? But that day, for me, what I take out of that day at Old Trafford was, I think that team, the OG21, got a respect from a hell of a lot of Reds and male football fans, you know, or men's football fans, if you will. They earned a hell of a lot of respect.
Mm.
So what? And then obviously, I think we went and waited for him outside. I think, didn't we, of Old Trafford, just to say bye to him, because we knew we weren't going to see him until summertime. So I took that one away a little bit as well. So, but man, what a mad season, Matt!
Yeah.
What a mad season, lad.
Hey, again.
I just said, what a mad season, mate. You know, it was unbelievable.
Oh, sorry, you was breaking up. Yeah, no, it was. I think, obviously, cautious at times, so I'll summarize quickly. But yeah, I think, you know, great season, so many memories. And do you know what? There's one thing you didn't mention, the Lewis game, and that was the interview afterwards, Tooney's interview. And, Tooney's interview, get her on MUTV. And she was trying to say the word memorable, and she come over at the end to me after that. She said, Craney. I said, yeah. She said, is memorable a word? I said, you what? She said, memorable. I said, what's that? She said, I've had a memorable season. I was like, what? And she said, well, I've just said that on camera. And I was doing what you're doing. I was crying, laughing. I said, be memorable. Oh, is that it? Yeah, memorable. Oh, watched it back. It's been a really memorable season, and honestly, do you know what? That just summed up how good that season. It was hilarious. And I remember Anthony at Cardiff when he's seen the men's game, he's seen her coming out. He's like, Tooney, was that memorable enough? You know, I just, hysterics. It's funny because she still gets ripped for that now, and it's just,
she does, yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I say, you know, cautious of time, so we'll obviously wrap it up. But fantastic season, so many memories, so many great sort of friendships made, you know, here, London, everywhere, really. Got to know so many people, even opposition fans. There was a lot of nice comments, you know, sort of fans, staff as well. So, yeah, good start. So do you want to wrap it up and explain, obviously, next week what we're going to go through?
Yeah. Well, as you said, time is ticking on. It's amazing how time flies by when you have fun. But what I will say, just right quickly before we explain what's going on next week, is if I could relive any season, any Manchester United season, this one would be in my top 5, along with 99, 2008 for the men. This would be definitely in my top 5 to relive again if I could. Yeah, so as you said, time is pushing on. We have been yapping for ages, but it had to be done because it's the first season, special season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And next week's Saturday Night Live, we will go into hopefully a little bit about Oslo, which I was trying to fit in this one, but I knew we were going to fit in.
We'll save it.
We said the Oslo pre-season, which was pretty memorable as well, or memorable. And then we're gonna go into obviously the pandemic hit first season in the WSL, and hopefully we can try and squeeze in up until present day. All being well. Matt, just quickly tell the people where they can find you on the old socials, lad.
Yeah, so Twitter name is here on screen, at MattCrane15. Also on Instagram, so that's matt.crane15. So I put a dot in between the first and second name just to be awkward. But again, you know, give me a follow, give me a shout if you want to chat football, whether you follow United Women or you follow somebody else, you know, I'm all for it. You know, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to All for United for sort of hosting us and allowing us to do this. Check out All for United as well. Schedule goes up tomorrow, I believe. So we've got a busy show this week, starting, I think, Monday. where all the four of us, me, you, John, Nat, are on. Tuesday, again, is another show. But yeah, schedule will be up. So thanks for tuning in. Keep an eye out for the schedule. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
Absolutely, mate. And my socials, obviously, you can see on screen again. Benny MUFC on Twitter, Benjamin Brazil, all in one word type thing on Instagram, and Father Sons of United YouTube channel. Hopefully, I could do a few more videos soon and get them uploaded on there. Please give me a subscribe on there if you wish to do so. Oh, and by the way, anybody that wants to guest on this show, so from the third show, not next week, but the show afterwards, drop me on Matt a DM and we'll get you on and we'll have some banter. And this show is designed, obviously, to speak about the women, but we can also speak about the men's team, whether even if you're not a United fan, you want to speak about the WSL, the Premier League, the Champions League, the World Cup. Come and have a talk to us football. And yes, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Well, I hope there's going to be a little bit of the light under the tunnel. If lockdown gets lifted a little bit in the coming weeks and months. But even if you just want to come and chat to us, anything you want to chat to us about, come on. Come and have a guest. Come and be a guest because we'll get a good chat on the go, good chin wag. Anyway, thank you for watching. And me and Matt will see you on Monday night. Thank you very much.
Cheers. See you later.
Cheers. See you later.